lifetime. So what's the solution? We have this situation where the law's piled up, this giant blob, democracy by dead people. Solution's really simple in concept. You put humans back in charge again. You create a structure where humans actually have to take responsibility for making public choices and be accountable. Now that's a lot more radical than it sounds, because you have to have a major recodification where you move from a legal system where you tell everybody exactly how to do everything. You know, there's some proposed rules in Colorado now that have, they detail how to run a daycare center, including the number of square feet, the number of blocks there have to be, and the 7 instances in which the workers have to wash their hands. You might as well have rules saying how many times you breathe. I mean, life's too complicated to run a daycare center in just one way. There are many ways of running a good daycare center. I'm all for government oversight of daycare centers, but not in a 50-page rule book. So you have to radically simplify law so that law focuses on goals and has governing principles. The First Amendment in the Constitution, the free speech part of the First Amendment consists of 5 words. Congress will not abridge the freedom of speech. That's it. People know what it means. It doesn't decide every issue. But people know generally that the cop can't come and tell you to stop talking or say, I don't like what you're saying. We've got that freedom. People know what it means. Well, regulation should be a version of that. A little more complicated, no grease down the drain and such, but it doesn't have to be incoherent thousands of pages of detail. So this simplification would allow the official then to take responsibility. Let's pull the tree out of the creek. This child, the teacher to say, the kid's disrupting the classroom, no forms to fill out, no legal hearings. I'm sending the kid to the principal's office, that's it. And when the parents complain or try to bring a lawsuit, the judge sees it as his job to toss out the lawsuit and fine the parents for bringing it. Because teachers and principals need the authority to run their classrooms. If we want to have business that's regulated, which I think we do for most businesses, have one agency in the city that the business can go to, and have that agency have the job of making sure that the business complies with a variety of requirements that are needed for that kind of business. But don't expect that the businessman can go to 9 different agencies and they'll all be consistent. There was inconsistent. There's an aspect of law that people don't understand. It's you can take one rule that's perfectly good and people can comply with it. You can take 10 rules, each of which is a perfectly good rule, and if you put them together, you get paralysis. There was a study done by a Berkeley professor, Aaron Wildofsky, called Implementation, that showed that the odds, there were so many requirements to do any major project, that the odds of actually succeeding, and each one of the requirements was reasonable, put the chances of success down to something like 2%, to actually thread the eye of that needle to go through all the regulations. So, but giving people this kind of authority doesn't mean that they have carte blanche. It doesn't mean they can do whatever they want. You can have checks and balances. You don't have to trust them. You don't have to trust the teacher to be fair. You can have somebody you can complain to who can overturn the decision. You don't have to trust the inspector to be good. You can have and you certainly shouldn't give somebody the power unilaterally just to close down, say, a restaurant. So you can have checks and balances, but they have to be judgment-based as well. It's when you get into literal compliance, where you have everybody with their noses in the rule books, that everything grinds to a halt and no one can do anything. So how would we do this? Well, as I suggested at the beginning, we're going to need, and I think we're going to get, unfortunately, a larger crisis that will force there to be a change. And when that happens, what should happen is we have an overhaul. We should have a recodification, not unlike the Uniform Commercial Code, which was created in the 1950s, which was to recodify all of contract law in America. America still has the best system of contract law in the world because some people got together in the 1950s and create a standardized code. So that's what we need to do in each area. So you appoint special commissions in each area. I think there needs to be a constitutional change to solve this problem of accretion. that would be a constitutional sunset provision where every program with budgetary impact would automatically expire periodically, say every 20 years. And Congress could reenact it, but they would have to make new findings about whether it was needed or not. Just one example there. Special ed law is very important. Take care of special needs children, but they ballooned out of control in ways that the people who wrote the law in 1975 didn't anticipate. So today, special ed laws consume over 20% of the total K-12 budget in America. There's virtually no money for pre-K education. There's very little money for gifted programs. Is that the right balance? Nobody's even asking the question, because the law requires it to be done that way. Special ed budget should probably be about half that. That's a huge amount of resources that could be provided in really important school programs without taking away from needed programs for the children in special ed. But again, no one has a responsibility to do it. So you say, well, the Congress can't even extend the budget deadline by a month. How could they possibly agree to do anything like this? And the answer is that today nothing is politically feasible. Nothing. You can't do anything. Just look at the current politics. You can't do anything. But the political scientists say we're going to get the change. And they say it occurs just like an earthquake. The pressures build up, and then like the stick slip phenomenon, it slides downward, and there's a moment in which there's overwhelming public demand for change. And so our goal, the goal of my group, Common Goods, not-for-profit, that has people like Bill Bradley and Al Simpson involved in, and others, our goal is not to make these changes. We don't have that power. Our goal is to create a new vision of how democracy could work the way our founders really intended it to work, and we can get this country moving again. And the new vision is basically this. We abandon the bureaucratic compliance model of regulation. We keep the goals of regulation, but we give designated individuals the responsibility within those legal boundaries to do the job as best they can, and give someone else the responsibility to hold them accountable. This is the litmus test. Does the person in charge have the freedom to make a sensible choice? If the answer to that is no, we need to change the law. And then the second part of this litmus test is somebody else have the freedom to hold them accountable if they're venal or they're not good at their job. Today, the answer to that is no, too. No one's accountable in government. Can't fire anybody. City of Los Angeles a couple of years spent 4 years and $3.5 million to fire 5 teachers. That was for misconduct. It's impossible to fire anybody for being incompetent in government. So we have to restore both the freedom and accountability. So then the question is what you can do. I know you're dying to get that question on the table. We need to create a public demand for a basic overhaul of government. We need to have a public dialogue about how we're going to make government again, but work again. And it's not tweaking the current system. We have to basically come up front and say what now everybody believes, which is the system is broken. The legislative system is broken. The political system is broken. We need a new vision. I think the new vision is based on responsibility, not bureaucracy. I'm talking with members of Congress from both parties about starting a centrist coalition that will have a 2-part platform. The first part is Simpson-Bowles, have a responsible budget, and the second part is sunset commissions, embodying the idea of going out to clean out the old government. Just those 2 things. That alone would be an enormous, I think, galvanizing influence towards the center. Let's go fix this broken system. And it's all based on a basic truth that you all know, which is that rules don't make anything happen. Real people make things happen. That's true in government, just as it's true in your families and it's true in your business. We have to create a government where real people actually have the freedom to do their jobs and be held accountable if they don't. But right now we've created a system where government is paralyzed, and increasingly it's paralyzing the rest of society. So that's why we need a basic change, and we're going to see it one way or another in the next few years, and I'm hoping it will move in the direction that we're moving towards, and I hope if you're interested, you'll get involved. Thank you.